got to come up and make the tackle. So Amos leaves me a little concerned as far as a Bills specific fit from that perspective. The one thing that I will say about really all of the prospects that I've talked about outside of Will Johnson is I think there's room for several different players that could be fits for the Bills. And in a draft where we want to see some big impact players on the defense, we need some big impact players on the defense. I think it's much more likely that Brandon Beane would be moving up. We know Brandon Beane likes to move up to get his guys. But in the case of Revel and Hairston and Amos, I think there's a chance that they are available early in the second round. And being at pick 30, we're starting to see the rumor mill churn up some momentum for Jackson Dart maybe going in the first round. Saw today Jalen Milroe being invited to the combine, which might seem like a one-off, no big deal, but they're trying to get more selective about players invited to the combine. Him being invited to the combine it tells me something that there's interest from teams out there about maybe getting back into the first round to take a quarterback. And the Bills sitting at pick 30 is a beautiful spot to hold that pick. And if somebody wants to come back into the first round to get a dart throw at a quarterback to be able to have that fifth-year option, is it a year where we could see Brandon Beane trading back? Maybe. It always makes the first night of the draft so much more difficult when you stay up for 29 picks, all excited for who the Bills are going to take. You love some guys on the board, and Brandon Beane drops out of the first round. It's challenging. But I think in a year where there's a lot of depth between edge, defensive tackle, cornerback to a certain extent, I think rounds 2, 3, 4, the sweet spot of this draft, and you don't currently have a third round pick, maybe you can drop down 10 spots, draft early second round, still get the guy that you want, and add a third round pick. Like I said, I think it's more likely that maybe a defensive tackle, maybe an edge is sitting there and Brandon Beane gets a little antsy and doesn't think they're making it to 30. I think it's a much more likely scenario that he goes up to get a guy than falling back into the second round.